Mr. Chair, recording has begun.
Pardon?
Recording has begun.
Thank you. Okay, look at that. We are right on time. My 2 minutes late. So why don't we get started? We have a few things to discuss and like to do it in good order. So let's pledge allegiance and set the mood for today. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi.
Timing is excellent.
Excellent. They separated us. I see.
Okay, first order of business is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review and are there any comments?
I read them and I didn't see anything that needed altering.
Okay. Any other comments? I would agree with you, by the way. Any comments relative to the minutes?
Nope.
All right, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is the draft 25 to 30 work plan. We've invested a lot of time into this discussion. I'm going to ask Don to give us a little bit of discussion on where we are. We had the several meetings here about this. We had some very fruitful work sessions and other discussions. And so Don, do you want to give us an update on where we are on this and we can proceed from there?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So going back from the beginning, during the July 19, 2025 HPC meeting, staff presented the draft work plan and answered commission questions concerning the proposed work plan items for the HPC. The work plan was drafted as no existing work plan exists for the commission, and the intent is to create some continuity and predictability in terms of the items that the commission would be working on between now and 2030. And the work plan would also allow for more reasonable budgeting of what HPC needs would be based on an adopted work plan. And the intent is that the work plan will travel to the council for their review and approval. At the August 6th, at the August 8th, 2025 commission meeting, the commission expressed support for the draft 25-30 HPC work plan. However, the commission believed that the 5-year work plan needed to address other items first, and in some cases, multiple work plan items were proposed for consolidation into a single work plan item based on Chair Gilpin's email to staff dated August 1st, 2025. Those amendments are on page 2 and 3 of your, on page 3 and 4 of your staff report, and they fundamentally consolidate, in many cases, the original work plan that staff has drafted that's also in your packet, and that is attachment number 3. Attachment number, attachment number 3. The commission subsequently continued the matter on the draft work plan at its September 19, 2025 meeting to allow Council Liaison Gutenberg to be present or to share his opinions on the draft work plan. Council Liaison Gutenberg subsequently expressed in an email to staff and to Chair Gilpin his support of the draft work plan as it was presented by staff. If the commission votes to recommend the town council approval of the draft 2025-30 work plan, as I mentioned earlier, will be scheduled for upcoming town council meeting. As also was previously expressed by staff, the proposed HPC changes to the July 18, 2025 work plan in staff's opinion, does not fully consider critical factors for the successful and timely implementation of the overall work plan. In staff's opinion and experience, these considerations include alignment with the proposed work plan items with each other, staff workload, budgetary allocations and considerations, specific project timelines, and the anticipated work effort or needs to successfully implement more complex work plan items, particularly as the work plan goes into later phases toward 2030. While staff makes its professional recommendations to the commission, it's the commission's purview to make its recommendations to the town council. Nevertheless, staff has included with the draft a draft resolution that incorporates the changes proposed by Chair Gilpin to the work plan, but it also includes an alternative HPC work plan resolution recommending approval of the draft 2530 HPC work plan as presented by staff. And again, staff just wants to reiterate that it's our opinion that the commission should adopt the alternative draft work plan for moving forward with future HPC projects that'll come before the commission in the future. So with that, that concludes my summary of what's happened, where we're at, and the decision point for the commission today on this item. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So just to make sure I understand what's being proposed, the updated version that we put together at our August 8th work session is the first one that's listed in your enclosure. And then the second one that you have on, which is page 6 of the packet, or the first page, is what you really would like us to consider as the plan going forward. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I'm recommending that the commission adopt the alternative resolution approving the draft work plan as presented by staff without modification.
And that's the original plan that was put together
Yes,
back
sir.
at the very beginning. Okay, is there any discussion or questions from members of the commission?
I have no questions.
I have one question just in general, since this is the first time we've worked off of a plan like this. This plan lays out the overall goals over a period of time for the commission. If we come across a new item, something that the plan didn't anticipate, are we still bound to only follow the plan, or is there flexibility to pursue these other items? Do we have to amend the plan? How would we have flexibility to react to anything that might come along during that period of time when the plan is in effect for new items that are not anticipated by the plan?
That's a great question, Mr. Bulling. The work plan is a living document. If there are unanticipated issues or things that the commission is prioritized to do or directed to do through the council, or by modifications that may be appropriate based on information that we don't have right now, the commission could certainly bring it to one of its regular scheduled meetings, and the work plan can be adjusted accordingly. Depending on how, again, this work plan, I've identified basically 3 items for each year. It's aggressive, but I've also incorporating additional staff that will probably be working on it. It's my goal to try to get 3 items done a year. We might only be able to do 2. But all of these things would be considered as we continue to move forward and advise you of what staff's availability is to complete each work plan item each year. And if we need to modify the work plan or to adjust the timing of it, then so be it. Again, it's a working document.
So would that be a process of formally amending the plan and then having those amendments approved by the council, or is that just something we work with as we go through?
If it's a modification, the council should be made aware of it. And if the council wishes to discuss it, then they would discuss it at their meeting. Otherwise, we would just advise the commission or the council of any changes to the work plan that the commission's intending. The council can clearly reverse any actions of the commission for its work plan priorities.
I think that answers it. Thank you.
So just to make sure I understand as well, if there's an item that's, first of all, comparing the two side by side, it looks like the 5 items that are in your proposed work plan versus the 5 items that we had originally, they're not that different.
It's
There's
the order.
a,
I think it's the order.
well, they seem to align, unless I'm reading this wrong, because the first one on what we had proposed was to continue the plaque program, and the first one here is develop a plaque program. And maybe the development is the key word. I guess there's some changes here. The second one is related to establishing the museum. One on the proposed plan is to establish the museum. The third one talks about doing a historic resource survey, and the third one, and what we agreed to, also establishes resource survey. Work plan 4, support the Maryland 250 program. Item 4 in the proposed by commission talked about Maryland 250 program and supporting that. Number 5 is the update to the comprehensive plan and supporting that, and that's what we had as well. So I'm trying to understand. So first of all, there's good alignment here, which is a good thing, right? We can all follow along, and I think we're doing what most of what we had anticipated doing. You had indicated that some of these things might be in conflict with staff priorities and other priorities, and resources. And what I'm trying to figure out and make sure I understand clearly before we vote on this is that in terms of the differences, you certainly have consolidated these things and made them broader. And some could say that, oh, well, under these broader things, we can do all the things we were thinking of doing anyway, and it's all fine. And maybe that's the way I should just approach it. But I want to make sure I understand substantively what the difference is between the two plans.
The substantive difference, I believe, is that I have broken these down a little bit into more detail. And I know that there is a desire by the commission to do a historic resource survey of the town sooner than later. But that requires additional preparation and time, as well as I'm trying to align it with the comp plan update in the future. And so there might be some nuances that may not necessarily be obvious, but they are to me as far as budget, timing, and its alignment with other things that we're building on top of. For example, and I'm just going to point out this one is, yes, you're correct. For the work plan item, you have number 1, you have continued plaque program, which we don't technically have because there's no program in place. You include the oral history, which I believe I had that scheduled for next year. And you have the website update, which I have scheduled later on in the subsequent years. So there's a mixture of different things that are being taken from different time periods that I have outlined in my suggested work plan that I think align better with the timing of how these work plan items should be should be lined up and proceeded with as we work toward many of the same things. I think I agree with you that we have many of the same things that we'd like to see done, but the way that it's been, at least, and just looking at item number 1, we've kind of cherry picked things out of the overall work plan between 25 and 30. And I'm suggesting that we don't do that we follow the work plan item that staff has recommended. And I can only tell you that based on my experience, that I know what's gonna work in the order and timing that things should be in to make sense of this in the future. And I think as we go on, I think it'll make more sense.
I'll also offer, the question that you just asked, Mr. Gilpin, is the same question I asked myself when I looked between these two, right? So I really was very careful to go through both of them and compare, right? Because I wanted to understand the way members of this commission were prioritizing things, and to see where I could see, where there were substantive differences and things like that, right? And so my overall view is that the two plans are in alignment in that they are largely recommending the same actions to be taken. Okay. The preliminary, the primary differences that I see when I go through this is like the very first thing is the number one item in the modified plan is really a collection of three different priorities all batched together, as Mr. Dooley just stated. There's also the sequencing is important. As a council member, when I look at these and I look at the recommendation of staff, I already see alignment issues with what the staff is asking for, issues being I shouldn't say they're issues, they're considerations, right? Like when he is sequencing the work with the comprehensive plan update, the reason why that's important is because the studies and the things that we're going to have to pay for with that are most useful at a very specific time, so that we can integrate that with a much larger set of priorities that have to be paid for to be integrated into that plan. And that work takes years to do. And Mr. Dooley is specifically uniquely informed in that process. And so when he says that, we need to take that advice seriously. And I can tell you the council will. So the Maryland 250 program, right? Like that is where he sequences that, I think, is important because of the timeliness of it. And there's other examples of it. And so, like, taken all together, I think the sequencing that Mr. Dooley has prepared is important from a staff resource standpoint. He knows what he can actually do, and from a budget standpoint of what he's going to end up putting in his budget that he's going to be requesting from the council over that number of years. And so I think because this work plan involves resources, both human resources and literal funding resources, the council is going to take the staff's recommendation as very key to which plan that they would approve, right? And so the problem with the modified plan is that the council is then going to have to ask staff for how much additional staff would they need or resources would they need in order to do those things. And so, as your representative from the council to this commission, what I can tell you is that the council is going to not be inclined to try and front load priorities that staff isn't recommending, right? And so if we adopt the modified plan, what I believe will happen is that the basic considerations that I just laid out for you all are going to be laid out before the council, and the council is going to say that I don't understand why we're doing this if we have a different path that is already sequenced and already has resource planning aligned to it. The better path for the council to pick, I believe, the more obvious choice is going to be to go with the staff plan for those reasons. Yeah. And so while I think it was a useful, exercise for us to go through to kind of look at those, I think also understanding, the better the way that we have to interact with staff in negotiating these things. And it really is a collaboration, right? Like, so staff has, got so much available to them to help advise us that I think we have to take advantage of it, and we will be better off for it. And ultimately, we are going to march through a set of projects here that are going to achieve what I believe both plans have goals to do. So I think we should adopt the plan today that is the one that's more likely to be accepted by the council and more likely, to staff's point, to be executable and actually achieve the things that we all think we agree the town should do.
Oh, that's good. And I appreciate that. And to be candid, I follow everything that you've said. I think I agree with just about all of it as well.
Okay.
And what I'm struggling with and the first item there relative to to the plaque program is a good example as any of them. Both lists suggest that that's the number one thing. The proposed one has included in it all of the items that we have talked about wanting to do, and we want to do them. What I don't see, and a lot of this discussion is around sequencing and timing and all of that. So it's not clear to me. What I want to do is when this is adopted, and I think it's part of Stuart's question as well, how do we function with this? We want to move forward. We're going to move forward with the discussions around the plaque program. And I know that we're going to have on the agenda today a whole a proposed approach, which is great. But how does this change what we're doing? In other words, if this guidance and this agreement of priorities, it doesn't really address schedule like in the first one. It doesn't say do these things over a certain number of years. I guess we could work with Don and we'll lay that out, but I don't see how this, I'm trying to understand how we govern to either list and what's different between the two. Because frankly, the priorities are essentially the same. The items being asked for in both lists are the same. I'm not sure I understand what's different. I want to make sure I understand what's different so that I understand how we want to proceed going forward.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, but I'll say, the priorities, when I look at the two lists, the priorities are not the same. The priorities are different. They are in a different order. There are places where between the two lists you can find individual items. The one you brought up is the plaque program. That is at the top of both lists. But in the modified plan, the plaque program is combined with two other projects. And so that is the difference. And then you get down into the two, if you lay them out, and what I like tables, right? I built some tables on this and literally laid them out next to each other and crosswalked these things. Yep. They are sequenced differently. And that goes to the very specific acute problem that causes for staff, and ultimately it result in an ask to the council, is it will require a reallocation of staff, human capital, and literal funding. And so what I'm saying to you is the difference in the priorities is causing a shift to human capital resource management and to literal budgeting. And I think unless there is a compelling reason why you would want staff to ask for that, and then I don't see what would compel the council to support that. And so I mean, I think it's just that basic. Right.
I get it.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, I'm going to ask a question, and
Yes.
it's going to sound cynical, and I don't mean it to be cynical. But hearing what I'm hearing, the staff and the council have a much deeper and better understanding of the operations and requirements and budgeting and resources than this commission has any hope of understanding at the level that we're operating at, which then begs the question, why were we even asked?
So I have an answer to that. I do have an answer to that. So, in the way that the council relies on the commissions and the boards, in my view, right, is that there are so many issues and so much detail to the things that each individual body has to deal with, right? The council is benefited and the town is benefited by a separate historic preservation commission who understands the policy issues and the implications and the things that we're doing related to historic preservation. If we went and took this list of priorities and projects to the council, they would have to spend hours and days to just get up to speed in reading the background of these as to why you would want to do any one of these, some of them, right? Unless they had a specific interest in or experience in their lives to do that. They wouldn't know that, right? And so generally what the council, and this I'm speaking for myself, what I do, is I rely on if a commission says that this is the way they want to go with a certain issue, the council is largely going to, I believe, accept that, because essentially they've offloaded the considerations and evaluations of the issue to that commissioner board, other than what that commissioner board's results of those decisions relate to budgets, right? Because so we on this commission don't have a budget, right? Like when we ask for things, and that's kind of what I see when the reprioritization of the work that you all did for the modified view of this, right? That was done because you were prioritizing things that you value and things you would like to see, and I understand that, but the context that you didn't have, and frankly I don't have either, other than we're taking staff's recommendations on this, is they do have the context of how much they're estimating in future budgets they will need to request for studies for some of these things, or for resources to do website updates, or the other things that are in the background, right? So we rely on staff to give us that piece of the input, and that's what he's done with the original staff report back in July and the couple of iterations now that have gone on, right? And so while that part is important, I think staff is giving this commission that input. It's not coming directly from the council. The council doesn't build budgets. The council just evaluates and approves the budgets, right? Like the staff is really sitting back and going, okay, this is where the council's like high level objectives are. This is where they're headed. These are now, this is staff getting this commission's view of these priorities, and this priority, we haven't had priorities before. You mentioned it earlier, right? Where we had a work plan like this. And I think that this work plan is a concept that is it really a direct linkage to the new town manager, right? And so the new town manager is professionalizing the way we run boards and commissions, and work plans are part of it. The council supports that. We're driving things forward, I think, in a good way by doing these kinds of things. And I think that, so I don't want, I hope that folks don't feel that the decisions that we make here don't matter. They do, but they have to be done with context. And I think, when other, you mentioned earlier, Mr. Bowling, how would we modify this? Like, what if something emerges a year from now? Does this lock us in, right? Yeah. When you were saying that, I was this is exactly the same thing that happens to me sitting up on this dais as a council member. We go off and we have these strategic retreats and we agree on priorities. And I go, well, geez, now I have all these other things that I as an individual would like to bring to this. Like, how do I do that? And that is a very, I think, common experience of people on boards and commissions. I've gone through it. I've talked with some of my peers about it. And it is, all I can say is it's a negotiation, right? So if we have things that come up that we are passionate about, that we think would benefit, then we bring it up to town staff. They will hear us and determine if that can be integrated in within the scope of the code that gives us what work we do, right? So we can look to the town code. Mr. Dooley has referenced it here, and it tells us what is our box that we're living in as a commission, right? And I think we can ask for things, and then staff will tell us, if it's within the capacity of staff to do it. I think they want to do those things. They want to be responsive to us, but we do have to be cognizant that there are limitations that we have to negotiate with each other on how priorities are then reprioritized. If we need to adjust this plan a year from now, we can have a discussion about that with staff, and we can navigate our way through it. And that's what I think he means by it's a living document. It's, we just travel the process and see where we can influence and move things in a direction that we think is positive.
It's fundamental. It's well said. I mean, it's fundamentally, it's a roadmap. Yeah. And it's going to keep us on the same road. Well, I think and all of these projects that I think we're talking about, and building on Councilman Gutenberg's comment, these are all in alignment with the job duties and responsibilities of the commission. If you look at the town's code, every board and commission is assigned specific functions and what their responsibilities are. And all of these work plan items align with that. And so that's an important thing to understand, is that we can only do things that are in alignment with what the town's code is. But we also need to prioritize things that are important to the town or to the council, to the commission. And this work plan is the first start in that, in long-term adherence to our code and to what the town wants to do, particularly as it relates to historic preservation.
Well, I'm not questioning the wisdom of having the work plan and not necessarily even questioning the work plan at this stage. I think Councilman Dooley, Councilman Gutenberg said that he mentioned the phrase about the box that we live in as a commission. And I think this process for us has been trying to define that box and trying to understand what that box is. And along the way, it sounds like we were asked to provide input and recommendations for a document that honestly wasn't really up for much negotiation in the sense of how the town saw it and as the commission saw it. The council saw it. So that's kind of what generated my question. Why were we even asked? Because it sounds like we really weren't in a position to be able to comment much about what we wanted to do because we didn't even understand the box we were in yet. So it's, as we look at these two proposals, I certainly don't want to go against what the town wants, and I certainly don't want to go against what the council wants. At the same time, I've worked with this commission, and I don't really want to go against what they want. And so it's kind of put us in a little bit of at odds.
What we have wanted, we have not succeeded in the past 2 years.
Well, yeah, because we've been sort of feeling our way around not knowing this box, and we've been blind. And so I appreciate this whole effort in the sense that, that we're getting our eyes opened a little bit.
Yeah.
At this stage, it almost seems as if the only option on the table really is the originally proposed document. And all the revisions we made really aren't going to matter. And that's what it sounds like to me.
So I guess we propose that we go with this draft and see how it falls out for us. Do we have any other options?
Well, the commission does have the ability to vote its conscience. I'm not here to tell you can't only have one choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't put ourselves in opposition to what the town is trying to
What
accomplish.
the town and council are trying to
Council
accomplish. Yeah, we don't.
It's not adversarial. We don't want to be adversarial.
Sure, understood.
Yeah.
And I'm providing in my role in this is to offer my coaching, my professional experience, and my experience on how to best achieve some of the things that I understand that the commission is interested in doing, but to also align it with a process, with a budgeting process that I can go to the council and I have a work plan that says, hey, this is coming up. I'm going to need this amount of resources to be able to do that, whether it's monetary, temporary staffing, or professional expertise that I don't have on staff, or I don't have enough of to be able to accomplish some of these work plan items. For example, the historic resource survey absolutely needs to be done. I can't go out and do it. I've done surveys, but I don't have enough with everything else that I have to do. I don't have the ability to go out and do it. So I'm going to have to go out and I'm going to hire somebody to go out and do this. I'm going to be working with them. You all will be working with them as well in the future, but this is, again, it's an alignment issue between what we want to get done, how we're going to accomplish it, and budgeting and thinking about how each one of these projects is going to build on each other. Mm-hmm. And as I'd mentioned before, I'm sort of, the way this is drafted is to take what the commission has been sort of working on, and the plaque program is the most obvious low-hanging fruit. This is what we've been doing, and building up and ramping up on that. So as the time goes on between 25 and 30, the council is going to see that, okay, here's the progress. Here's the things that the commission has accomplished, and I know that we can do. I know it can be done. But also to allow for the council to start thinking about, hey, when we come to year 27, we need to start thinking about putting some money aside to do a historic resource survey. and some of these other things that are going to require cost to be able to give us enough fuel to get across the finish line on these. So when I'm aligning these things, I'm considering a lot of these factors that I've just discussed, as well as aligning it with, with what the job duties and responsibilities of the commission are. The commission is a recommendation for the most part. The commission has the ability to make decisions on certificates of appropriateness, which I know you haven't really been done in the past, partially because we don't have a survey to identify those resources. But the commission's really, its role is to advise the council on historic preservation matters. And my role to you is to help coach you through that, to give you decision points, things to think about, issues to ponder and develop a well thought out decision that can be advanced to the council for their consideration. So this work plan, if you don't like what staff has put in there, I mean, it's certainly your prerogative to make your recommendation to the council. Staff is still going to present to the council what it believes is appropriate to do, and ultimately it's going to be the council decision on how they want to approach it.
Okay.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
let me ask a simple question. One of our top priorities was the Firehouse Museum. Can you give me a date, not an exact date, a year that you think that project would ever be accomplished in this work plan?
Well, I have it at this point, I have it scheduled for the fiscal year 26-27. And I think that probably aligns very well with what's happened. Chair Gilpin has made a presentation to the council recently. The council is asked the town manager for some additional information and cost consideration to bring back to the council. I suspect that, and I don't know for 100%, but I think that there seemed to be some sympathy toward moving forward with that, but there was some questions about real cost and operational issues. And I think if those things are satisfied, the council says, yeah, we support this, that's going to align really well with our work plan.
Because that was an important issue for us,
Sure.
which we felt shot down. And
Yeah.
and I don't mean to be derogatory about this, but I'm old enough to have seen so many councils come and go and have their priorities work and don't work. Our previous council, it was not preserving some of the important things that we felt were important to the town history.
One of the great things with
It makes us a little
yeah.
shaky.
One of the great things with the work plan too is if there is ever opportunities for grants that might be out there, if the town has something that it can show that it has official document, this is what we're going to do. We can align that a lot easier with a potential grant opportunity than trying to get a grant without having a plan for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
And if I could say, related to this, and to what Mr. Bowling mentioned, if not for this commission, nobody would have ever briefed the council. There would not be even the work for a project to consider it, right? And so that's why this commission matters, because those things, the council is too consumed with the things that are happening every day for it to rise for them on their own, right? Like it's not going to come up on the agenda naturally there unless that it is being worked and then elevated from a group like this. And that's why we have a Parks and Recreation, right? It's the same thing, right? So the work that was done by this commission on the firehouse is why we even have developed enough detail to where the council is on a path for an actionable decision. And so nobody at the table, including myself, can tell you a date or what the council's decision is going to be, because it's a group of 5 people that have to meet to decide it. What I can tell you is that in my view, the presentation that was made was well received by everybody. The conversation that I had with my fellow council members, it was good, right? Because it was not well understood by members of all the members of the council exactly what all of the pieces were that had to come together. And then it brought up additional questions related to a suite of projects that are out there. And so the context of the firehouse with other related kind of projects is now what's in a path. It's on a path for a decision in this upcoming budget cycle that we are now in, right? And so, I mean, that's the best answer to your question of like, when will that happen? And I think I agree with what Mr. Dooley is saying is based on where it is in that cycle, what you see in the staff plan for where the firehouse project is probably relatively realistic, assuming that comes through, right? And so, you know, I think that's just another example of why this plan it's appropriate the way staff lined it up, because it's taking those kinds of things into consideration.
I have a question for our fellow council people here. It sounds like we're looking at heading towards adopting one of these two plans today. And are there any considerations that you find, because we worked on it, we've talked a lot about all the things that are necessary to get what we're hoping to get done. And the priorities that we tried to work those into an alternative plan. Knowing what we know now, is there any consideration anybody has here about what priorities are changing between the two documents and whether that's just something you can't live with? I don't know if I said that right or not.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. I mean, go ahead, Jane.
I have a question in that, since we're already in the process of the firehouse and all, while you're putting it in next year's budget, can we continue, if it doesn't involve funding, can we continue with the things that we are discussing and we are trying to do? Or does it mean this is not in this year's plan, so we will not address it?
Or a better way to ask the question
Yeah.
might be, we have funding in our budget related to the firehouse,
Mhm.
and we're not going to just do nothing. We don't want to do nothing. I'll say it that way. But I think what you're trying to get to is what can we execute and can't execute, or how do we go
Right.
forward to do what we think are the next steps?
So let me answer the question this way. There's work that's already been done. That's great. And that doesn't diminish the commission's ability to have some discussion about it during the meeting. But the priorities become, in terms of accomplishment, what staff is working on would align with what the work plan is. If there's voluntary work that needs to be done for it outside, and it aligns with what the town would allow, because basically we're relying on volunteers at this point, I don't see any problem with that, so long as Mr. Stevens, the town manager, is agreeable with allowing help for the town to do what it needs to do to move forward, something related to the firehouse. I don't know what that really looks like, because we really don't we don't have an official volunteer program in the town, and that part's a little bit nebulous at best.
That's probably a good example, though, because that would be the kind of thing that we would bump into where we have an idea, but the town's
Correct.
not ready to receive that idea.
But the thing to remember, though, about the work plan and what the commission's role is, broadly speaking, the commission is here to help identify goals, policies, objectives that need to be achieved that are going to be consistent with the work plan and with our ordinance. The commission is not the administrator of the firehouse or the museum,
Yeah.
any of these other things. That is outside of what the role is.
Yeah, that's part of
Here.
the
So
process we've been trying to figure
that's
out.
that's the important distinction.
Yeah.
So the things that we're going to talk about that I'm going to bring to you in the future are going to be things related to this work plan. That is the priority. Now, the commission might certainly ask about, well, what's going on with the firehouse or budget or with the council or something. Those are all fair things to ask, as part of the meeting, but the focus for staff is on the work plan. It's not, the commission is not going to direct staff to do this or do that if it's not on the work plan.
Good. As far as, first of all, my inclination is to support this, what you're proposing today. So let me just be clear. There are two things that I'm going to ask you to provide us. So to help us work in the manner that you're trying to describe. One is you frequently talk about a broader set of goals and objectives for the town that we're trying to fit into. We're not talking about the comprehensive plan that I thought represented that. There's something else. I would like for you to bring to us what those goals and objectives are that we're working in the greater picture, okay? Number one. Number two, you've referred multiple times to staff planning and staff plans to implement these 5 objectives. I would like to see that plan so that we can work in context to that plan and support it.
Okay, your first, let me reply this way. As far as the goals, objectives, and so forth, those are outlined in the municipal code. They're already there. They identify explicitly what the commission's roles and responsibilities are. That's codified. So that's already there. And I'm aligning our work plan and the things that staff and the commission does to that, what's been codified. With regard to your second question, I'm really a little uncertain exactly what you're asking for.
I'm asking for the plan that you keep saying you're developing
For-
to align staff, resources, and all that stuff
Right.
to these ideas, so that when someone says, oh, the firehouse is going to appear in 26, 27, you must have a plan that
So-
supports that happening
So,
between today and
So this-
27.
okay, so this work plan is what that is.
No, it's
If-
not. This
If
is a
you're,
broad
if
set of
you're, if you're
objectives.
looking for like a construction schedule, that's not what I envision for this. The alignment of any work plan is going to be with what the project is and what resource allocation is going to be, and then the timing of when those resources are going to be used to accomplish those goals outlined in the work plan.
Okay.
That's what it's going to be.
So if I could, I think part of what you were asking, Mr. Gilpin, is the goals and objectives that, like, when we talk about what the councils of goals and objectives
sir.
are. No, you're talking
No,
about,
sir.
okay, so the code. Okay. Then the second part then I want to say is that, I understand what you're asking for and why, I think, but we are not the manager of Mr. Dooley. We are, think of us more as an executive committee, and we are looking at things that way. Now, I think it is appropriate to ask questions to hold ourselves accountable to a plan, right? And if accountability is the goal, I think there's appropriate ways to ask for it. But we cannot task staff to produce like detailed plans and like that, like we're going to take step by step and go through how they do that. Like Mr. Dooley is accountable to the plan in that the town manager is managing him, and the council is holding the town manager and staff accountable to the things that they have agreed to and that we have funded. And so I think it is appropriate for us as a commission to ask the questions like, are we on track for this? Right. And then, and if we're finding that they're not on track, to ask questions why and understand that and engage with other parts of engage with council members, engage with staff on what that is and what are their constraints, what has happened that has limited that. Like, it is appropriate for us to ask those questions, but it's also appropriate for us to be accommodating of what those reasons might be.
Okay. I think we're trying to, there's all these allusions to having plans and desires and things to occur over the next 5 years, as laid out in these broad objectives of what it is that we want to accomplish, and agree to those. I agree to them. I personally agree to them, and I think we're headed towards adopting them. What we're struggling with is, okay, what are some of the plans that you keep alluding to over the next 5 years in terms of you've already developed a staff plan, I suspect, to support what you've put forward here in this plan. You've already suggested that between now and I guess the end of 27 or whatever, where the firehouse is to be complete. What things is it that you've laid in to do that? I'm not asking you to develop something new. I'm asking you to show us what you did, because you keep alluding to these plans and that you're constrained. So I'm just I want to understand so that we can proceed and ask for the right things at the right times.
So what's going to happen is, if the plan's adopted by this commission and council, every meeting that I come to, or my staff comes to, under the matters for information or staff report, there will be feedback in terms of where are we at with this project, how we're gearing up for the next item, what the resources that we're putting together to accomplish these. If there are issues or problems, we're going to make you aware of them. I'm likely to, for many of these items, ask for a subcommittee, so I have some commission input to help provide some advice on helping staff, guide staff on some of these issues. And so we're going to be collaborating together. Do I know every single misstep or potential misstep? No, but I know enough to know where they're likely to be. And some of this stuff you have to, as we get into it, depending on what the project is, there's going to be things that are going to be unanticipated as well as anticipated. And that's part of keeping that open, so that the commission knows that, hey, we're working on the project. Here's where we're at with it. Here's what challenges that we have. Here are the things that we're excelling at, and we're able to get it done sooner, so that you all know where everything is at any given time. So if somebody asked you, you can be able to tell them, this is where staff is at. This is where the commission is at. So there's nothing to hide here, but working out every single illicit detail on this is not possible at this point.
Understood. And I'm probably failing to communicate exactly what I'm after here. And Councilman Gutenberg mentioned a term that might be helpful here in terms of laying out a table. When I ask you for a plan, I'm not asking for the PERT chart of 4,000 steps that are required between today and the end of 27 for the Firehouse Museum. What I'm looking for, frankly, is a one-page thing, right? And we have 5 objectives here. Things are going to happen, big boxes. Like the firehouse, we propose to the council, and we'll see where it goes, a 2-phased approach. I don't know if that plan is acceptable to the council yet. But if you are thinking in terms of a 2-phased approach, you might have for the line item firehouse or town museum, soft opening, full opening. And that's it. I don't expect much more detail than that, but a broad architecture of where you think these things are going to go versus time. And you can have it as high level and simplified as you need it to be at this time, because I recognize you do not have all the detailed information. You don't even have everybody's hands going up and saying, yeah, we want to do these 5 things. So we're going to get to that today. I think we're going to get there. We're going to say, we're going to do these 5 things. The council will take it up and vote on it. And I suspect that they will support it. The next step is, okay, how do you, because we
How do we make it?
want to help you succeed in getting these things done. That's really what we want to do. So that's what I'm asking for. Does that make sense?
And I think so, and I think you're going to organically get that information as we proceed with each of these projects. I will bring to you, like today, you have a concept plan for developing a plaque program, which we're going to outline and discuss.
Right.
One of the items that I have on here, is to put together like the Maryland 250 program. That I will probably bring in Lucinda Anderson, who is the events coordinator. She will identify, here are things that seem to be the most, at least of the concepts that we have. Here are the ones that seem to be the most viable to do. Here are going to be the challenges. Here are going to be the needs that we're going to have. And you're going to help, I expect that the commission is going to help navigate through that to help us as staff say, hey, have you thought about this? Or this is a resource. These seem to be the most viable things that we can do. And we're going to take that information and we're going to run with it. And we're going to keep you informed about where things are at. We will give you broad level stuff of where we're headed with any given project, and tell you what we've accomplished as part of our regular meetings. That's kind of normal and customary.
Okay. I'm watching the clock because I promised you not a 4-hour meeting.
Thank you.
And I'm not succeeding. So, are there any other, I'd like to bring this to a vote, but this is a complex issue and we've all had hard questions about it. And I appreciate this conversation. It's been good. Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we bring this up for a vote? Can I hear a motion, please?
I motion that we go ahead and accept the originally proposed document from Mr. Dooley.
Specifically as laid out here, because he's laid out a draft.
It's the alternative draft resolution.
The most recently.
Oh,
The alternative draft resolution.
okay. Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to fill this in here right now. So we have 1, 2, 3. Did you vote?
It's five,
Yeah.
the vote's 5-0, no opposition.
Correct.
We don't have anybody absent. Okay. Can my signing this one do it for you?
Pardon?
You need this.
I will give you a clean draft of it to sign, and I will countersign it.
Okay. All right, very good. Next item on the agenda here, let's see. So got that done. So the working group reports, the next item on the agenda is the train station. And I'd like to call it the La Plata Museum because that's really what we're.
Yeah, we missed an item.
I'm sorry. Let me start over, please. Train station.
Museum.
Yeah, so the only thing, normally I would ask Bob Curran to talk to this as he's been kind of the lead. He's not here today, so I'll just take it up. There's probably two things related to the train station.
I'm sorry. I think we were still missing an agenda item.
I apologize. What did I
It's
do? Oh, not
3.2. 3.2 is the draft centennial plaque.
There we go.
the agenda. Okay. Let me back up again. Thank you. Centennial Plaque Program.
Okay.
I will turn that over to you and I'll shut up.
Well, I'm actually going to turn it over to Mr. Dooley because he drafted this centennial plaque program. And we've met at least once or twice. And I thought it was a very good draft. I don't know that you all have actually had this in hand and seen it. I don't believe you have.
No.
So where do you want this to go from here? What's the next step?
Okay, let me, if I may, I can do a quick presentation on it and we can sort of dive into the details as the commission wishes to. So to start,
Well, can we just begin with the fact that you drafted this, you and I shared it together,
yes,
but it did not go out. I was thinking that perhaps it was going to go out to the commission prior to the meeting.
We all received it as the agenda
you
packet.
see it as part of the agenda package on last Friday.
Yeah, I think I've seen.
You've
part of
seen it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just didn't understand where it was in the process. I guess it
Okay,
understood it was a draft and that's about it.
Yeah,
okay.
typically, unless there's an understanding prior, anything that goes, any projects or items will always be incorporated within the agenda packet, and that agenda packet will always go out the Friday before a meeting.
Which is why I ask you all for inputs to the agenda and so forth. When I do, to try to get something to him so that he can put the package together. Okay, yeah, keep going. Good.
Okay. All right. So the little background, the town of La Plata has recognized and plaqued a few buildings and sites that have contributed to the town's history in the past. Building on this concept, the Historic Preservation Commission has determined that it would be appropriate to recognize other buildings, structures, objects, and important sites in the town of La Plata. With that, the HPC developed a plaque program subcommittee, which was Vice Chair Chandler, to meet with staff, which we did in September and October of this year, to develop the details of the plaquing program to recognize building structures, objects, and important sites or resources in the town that are at least 100 years old. The program that the subcommittee and working with staff has developed to identify this is called the Centennial Plaque Program, because it sort of, we felt that it best represents what the plaquing is for buildings that are 100 years old or older. Attachment number 1 is the draft Centennial Plaque Program, and it outlines the purpose of the program, eligibility requirements, nomination criteria, and other details, as well as an example of what the Centennial Plaque would look like at this time. The Vice Chair Chandler had identified that the approximate cost for the plaque that you see in Exhibit A to this is approximately $349, and that's for a 10 by 7 inch bronze style plaque, or at a lower cost, $309 for an aluminum style plaque. With Ms. Chandler's help, staff has identified approximately 23 residential buildings and 19 commercial buildings in town that we believe at this time are at least 100 years old as of 2025. So, as Ms. Chandler, as Vice Chair Chandler had pointed out, she has worked with staff to go through and develop the specific details for the program that would enable anyone with a building that they can document that's at least 100 years old to be eligible for a plaque. The program fundamentally would require an application and documentation to prove that the resource was at least 100 years old. The commission would then have to approve that plaque application. Under the application limits at this time, and this of course depends on council budget allocation for a plaque program, but at this point we're looking at approximately 5 plaques potentially each year that the commission could award to qualified applicants, or the commission or council might nominate a building structure object site for a plaque as well, and it would follow the normal process, or excuse me, follow the proposed process outlined within the plaque program. The plaques would then be, if they were approved, would require that the property owner plaque the resource themselves. They would need to install it within 30 days. The plaques would belong in perpetuity, of course, to the town, as it's a town resource. So, but the burden would be on the property owner to make sure that the plaque is being maintained at all times. The town would have the ability to inspect it to make sure that the plaque is still, number one, still there and it's being maintained appropriately. This would be a program that at this point would be would be fundamentally in perpetuity as long as that there was budget for it, or if there was any changes in the future that they wanted to, that if they ever wanted to eliminate the program, or of course if the commission or the council wants to modify the program in the future, that could be done. But the details of the program basically are here today to outline for the commission what the program details would be and what the path would be for someone to request a centennial plaque. Vice Chair Chandler and I also discussed that initially the commission, if it was approved, the program was approved and budgeted by the town council, that the commission may want to suggest or nominate with the property owner's consent some of these plaques to at least get the program off the ground, to demonstrate that, you know, what the plaques look like and what that process would look like, to sort of some initial projects so we can get traction. And as we, you know, continue to develop out the town's website with adding new information to the town's offerings to the community, this could certainly be something that would be added to the town's website. It would be administered through the community, through the planning department, long term, and of course with the council, with the Historic Preservation Commission's approval. So that's kind of a fundamental overview of what the plaque program is, how it would be used, and how somebody would be able to apply for a plaque program, or for a plaque for their resource that's over 100 years old or more. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the chair with any questions.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add first?
No, I was very pleased with what we drafted up, and I think it's a good working outline, and I find it acceptable. Now, I think were there any questions that y'all have to?
I have one, but it's probably because I remember reading it, but I don't remember all the details.
Okay.
It occurred to me as I was looking at it that when you were talking about particularly a structure that is 100 years old or more, knowing that we've been through the 2002 tornado and we've had other natural disasters, fires and such forth, and a lot of, and even the Arab oil embargo of the 70s, we had a lot of heavy renovation done on buildings to accommodate energy efficiency. Do we have a guideline as to how much of the original structure needs to be intact to be able to qualify as a historic building?
That is an interesting question.
No, sir, the plaque program is a real basic, it's an easy program. If the fundamental structure is there, regardless of its integrity, is there, you would qualify for the plaque program, provided that you can demonstrate that the building is approximately or 100 years old or older. So it's not tied to integrity.
So it's some element of the building is at least 100 years old.
Yes,
Because I'm
yes.
thinking of particularly like
Yes.
the original Farrell store would be a good example. The first one there, right
That's an
facing
interesting
Oak
example,
Avenue.
Yeah. But
it-
structure.
It was there in 2002. The roof was taken off by the tornado. It was being renovated. It caught fire. And then it was completely renovated after that. But the core of that building is still the original
Which
building.
building is that?
The old,
Today?
it's the one
You would have called
facing,
it Sycamore Accent. You probably know.
oh, no, the one before that, the one that faces Oak Avenue, the original.
Oh, the very first,
The,
very first,
the
very
Angelus,
first,
I guess.
right here,
Steel still.
the Angelus Building, yeah. hmm
Yeah, that one
It's the oldest structure.
that would be one of our oldest buildings, but
Mhm.
it has been through a lot. And so there's not a lot of the original on the outside anymore.
Yeah, what I sort of see potentially, and you can kind of let your minds run wild with this, is that it's when we eventually get our townwide historic resource survey completed, we're going to have a list of lots of other different building structures, object sites. And new plaque programs could be generated from those contexts that come out of the historic resource survey. That would qualify for a sort of
Just recognition.
a recognition,
Recognition.
yeah, sort of a cousin program, if you will.
Mhm.
But where we're talking about if we want to plaque designated historic resources that may come out in the future with a historic resource survey, then anybody would apply for a potentially, or if we develop a program for it, that would want a locally designated historic resource plaque, those building structures, object sites would have to retain integrity. And through that historic resource survey, we're going to identify what integrity means
Okay,
based on the aspects of integrity for building structures, object sites.
okay.
And so this one is sort of an easy, if your building's 100 years old, regardless of if all the material fabric is still there or not, as long as it's fundamentally been there in one form or another, and it's 100 years old or more, you can plaque it with the commission's approval.
Okay, okay, I understand.
And each building will be approved by us before any plaque is.
Well, I wouldn't oppose that building being recognized,
No.
because the renovations that were done were, in with respect to the original structure of the building, you know.
Right.
You had asked that when I was looking at this, listening to you, you were asking about like some choices between different style and cost plaques. To me, the difference in cost between the nicer version and the aluminum version, right, is just $500. The total program cost, look, if we're just looking at plaques, is between $2,000 a year and $1,500 a year. I would recommend that we say to staff, let's just do the nice ones. If we're going to go through the effort to do this, let's just, yeah. $500 difference is not going to move anything. The council's not even going to see that. It's not going to come on anybody's radar. So we should probably just do the
Just for the sake of the
appropriately.
weathering and aging of the
Yeah,
plaques, I think
exactly.
it'd be much better if we went the bronze ones.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think this is the kind of thing too, at that level. I mean, this is such an easy thing to just program out into a budget, and I believe it would live on in perpetuity, right? It would just be a thing that this council or this commission would be able to, receive applications for those things and just evaluate them and just keep processing through without any risk that it was going to go away. Yeah.
Before I go, do you have any?
Well, I'm happy.
I have a couple little questions. The way that this thing is written, it implies certain responsibilities by the town and certain responsibilities by the building owner. In terms of cost, maintenance, the way I read it, the town provides a plaque in a box, and it's up to the owner to install it properly and maintain it forever. Whatever that ultimately turns into at the end of the day, is there going to be a formal, it almost screams for a little contract or something, some kind of agreement between property owners and the town in terms of what they are committed to do if we put the plaque up?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that we can add that to this to identify that there's an agreement, as you stated, to comply with and make sure that the property owner complies and maintains the plaque and so forth, so that we have something in writing that if there was ever an issue, we can go back to the property owner and say, hey, you were a former property owner, agreed to this, you're on the hook for it. And if they say, well, here's your plaque back, fine, okay. But we have something to hold to. I think that's a good a good suggestion.
Yeah, I just don't want to create barriers, right? You know, it's we've had conversations in the past about designating buildings as historic and what that implies in terms of duty by the homeowner that, oh, well, now that you're a historic property and we said so, and we're going to put a sign up for you, that means if you want to paint something, you have to come to us. That's a little heavy-handed. We're not going anywhere near that with this.
No.
But on the other hand, it's a barrier. These are barriers. So we would love 100% of these 100 buildings to say, yeah, we want to do this. Great idea, because it does so much for expanding where we want to go with this, because with the other little projects that go around these are part and parcel to us. So we want it to succeed, but we don't want to put barriers in front of the property owners to have them, yeah, it sounds good, but nah, thanks. And so I'm trying to find a way to make sure we don't overreach that.
I agree with you very much, Mr. Gilpin, and I would ask that you, when you write that it's written with a light touch,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's fundamentally, you
Yeah.
understand the program, you're going to abide by the program.
Here's the
Yeah.
application.
But it shouldn't feel scary. It should feel like it's a benefit, right? Yeah.
And actually be one.
Yeah.
Good too.
Yeah, it's just basically, as I'm envisioning it, it's basically you've gotten commission approval here. You're going to follow the plaque program requirements that would be adopted, and fundamentally that's it. Unless there's a reason to go out and look at the plaque, you know, we're going to make the assumption that they're maintaining it.
So perfect. And oh, by the way, not leading off of that sentence, my next thought would be there are other elements in the plaque program that we just discussed as part of the broad plan, right? Where we are going to turn it into a walking tour. We're going to hopefully find a way to put a
QR.
Code.
QR code there so that people can do a walking tour of the town and see, oh, this is a year old building. Oh, and they click the thing with their phone and they'll be able to get history. Can we put in this plan the provisions, the future provisions to do that work so that, yeah, I know we don't know exactly when it's going to happen today. And, you know, we're planning for the future long term, but I would love to have this include the provisions as opposed to the specifics, the provisions to allow for us to build that in as we go. So that the first homeowner will know that, yeah, hey, in the future, there's going to be some additions to this. And here's what they look like in general. Is there a way we can do that?
I think we could probably put it under under the purpose on here, one of the paragraphs in here, or add a third paragraph, basically identifying how it's going to be used in the future.
Okay.
And so that way it's known, and we're not that far along yet to determine what a walking tour would look like for the needs for that. So I'd be reluctant to put something in here now, but we can always come back and we can amend and change this as we need to.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, all these are sort of working documents.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I know you're familiar with scope creep, right? And you know, Mary Beth talked earlier about, you know, not feeling like we hadn't got anything done in 2 years, right? Like this is a great example of like the last topic we talked about. Like we keep these things separated out like this. We're about to have something, you know, in relatively near term that's going to be a thing we can actually look at and go, now we're operating and doing it this way as a town, right?
And we, well, I should say we came to a standstill. We thought we were doing a very good job. We were pleased with what we were doing, and then we just came to a halt here, and we just need to get up and going again.
Agreed.
Okay.
Because I guess you all know our most recent plaque is in Culpeper instead of Plata. That's okay. We're gonna get that. That 2-year plaque is driven me.
That was entertaining.
City.
Oh, boy.
All right.
In a different state, no less.
So to not get too off the path here, sounds like we're going to do an update to this.
Yeah.
You'll bring it back to us next meeting.
Staff would bring it back
Yeah.
with a resolution adopting the plaque program with the modifications. And then that would be forwarded to the town council for their review and approval as well.
Excellent. Okay. Sounds good to everybody?
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. Now, can we move on to the next thing? Train Station Museum. So I see two issues that probably are worthy of discussing. One, let me give a quick synopsis of where we're headed for Small Business Saturday, because we're going to have quite a few things going on, and I think it's going to be a pretty good day. Santa Claus is coming, so we got that squared away. We are going to have some exhibits. What do I mean by that? We're going to have two tables there, one from Smecco. They were there last year as part of their community outreach, and they're going to be there again with us this year. And the second one is the Charles County Arts Alliance is going to have a table with us. So that as people come by to see the museum, they'll also get some other things to look at. So I think it's going to be pretty nice. And finally, Bob suggested this, and I loved it, and we're going to have some music. So we're going to have a musician playing. And by the way, it's not going to cost us anything. So let me clarify that right away. None of this is going to cost anything that I'm aware of. So we're going to have a jazz guitarist playing through the time we're open. I think it'll set a nice tone. So anyway, so I'm pretty excited about all that, and that's what we will see on a week from Saturday. That brings me to the second question, and I'm going to turn to you in a moment, Don. A problem has evolved over parking at the Train Museum. And
I'm sorry,
if
we had rules of procedures, what we're going to fix, this is where I would ask for a point of order. So the issue that I know that you want to discuss, you brought up to myself, you brought up to the town manager. I spoke with him today. He is engaged on this issue, and I think as a matter of public record business for this commission, this is not a thing that is actionable by us, and it's also not appropriate for us to be weighing in on it, because he is actively working with the parties, and we need to give him the space to do that and not be making statements that would interfere with what he's doing if we want the outcomes we want.
Okay, good with that.
Okay,
But I
thank
got a
you.
question that needs answering now. Unless there's something going to happen in the next week, do we have an alternative to help people relative to parking at the museum for a week from Saturday?
I think that is, again, the operational question is appropriately addressed, not in this public forum, but with the town manager, who you have already spoken to, I have already spoken to, and he can give you that answer directly in relation to what is going to happen on that day.
So go to him.
Yes, and that's already been done. And so
He we will have a resolution. That's all we need.
I'm not here to guarantee you resolutions. I'm telling you that the process, right, is that the town manager will handle those operational issues. Yeah.
Just knowing he's working on it is all I need.
Yeah, I'm confident that it
But
is.
I think
yeah.
what we're asking is, where are these people going to park in Creek?
I know, and what I'm saying to you is like all valid questions, but they should be asked directly to the town manager, and doing it as part of an agenda item of this meeting is not the place to do it. Yeah.
Understand that completely.
Okay.
I'm just saying, we don't want to show up next Saturday morning and
Yep.
have any
Completely valid.
So as
Absolutely
long as
understand.
being resolved. That's fine.
I understand and agree.
Thank
Yes.
Any other train station questions anybody have?
I don't know whether it fits in with that or not, but I have just a question of how to go about doing this, or whether I even can do it anymore.
Mhm.
In the past, during this Shop Small Saturday, I have gone into the Train Station Museum and I've strung lights inside as part of that celebration.
Yep.
Because we usually have Santa Claus there. Am I able to still do that?
That's if there's a desire to put lights on the building, you should not be doing it. It might be a request made of the Public Works Director, Wilson Cochran. But anything that's, again, it's a town resource. Town staff should be the only ones that are engaged with adding, modifying, or putting anything up on any town asset.
This is within, not on the outside, just to be clear on that, but I mean, I think it's the same principle.
The
It's
interior.
still applying.
Right.
On the interior.
This is the
Interior,
interior.
yes,
No, the
interior.
exterior is
Not the
being
exterior.
done now.
If
There have
it's
been,
funny, I would tell you the same thing, is that the building really falls under the auspices of the Public Works Director, because they're the ones managing it
Okay. So next
officially.
question.
So they would, I can't speak for Mr. Cochran. It seems sort of a benign thing to ask for, but I would run that through him to make sure that he's okay with that.
So that would be, it would be appropriate for me to ask him.
Yes.
Okay, and I can do that.
Because I think I sent you a list of like 5 small items that needed to be looked at the museum.
And I pass those on.
And I don't know that any of them have been addressed at this point. So but we can't go directly to Public Works. Is that correct?
You
We
can
have-
certainly engage with Mr. Cochran
Okay.
if you choose to do that. There's no problem with doing that.
Okay.
But the comments that, things that you've observed or seen on there, I'm perfectly happy with receiving those and forwarding those on to the Public Works Director. But ultimately I have no control over it because that's
The
not
fact
my
that they
lane
weren't
to
accomplished.
do, only to make sure it gets to the proper decision maker in the town.
Any other questions? All right. I'm going to switch this up just a little bit. Let's do the Audley discussion a little bit because it's really inside the train museum anyway. So Stuart, you had suggested this, and I think it's not a bad idea to kind of improve that little plaque that we have there now.
Yeah.
Is there anything in specific that you have in mind for that? I think it's a great idea. And for those who aren't aware, the people that he used to work with in his professional life, they've been making annual donations to the museum every year. And this year will be the 5th year that they're doing that. In fact, they're coming by the museum today. We're going to take a picture and the like, but they're giving us another $300 for use in the museum, which I think is wonderful. And so that's ongoing. And so now I'll pass back to you, Stu. And if in terms of anything you have in mind on this or what we need to do now.
Can I ask a question about how, like, when you say the museum receives donations?
Yeah, it will be turned into the town. In fact, I
Yeah,
think
what's-
somebody.
that's what I
think
want to know is the
Don suggested
process.
he bring it and give it to the clerk and.
I
Turn in a
didn't
check
have,
or
I'm not even
Somebody
aware
wrote
of this
it down.
conversation.
Oh,
You didn't have it with me, sorry.
No, I apologize.
But any sort of town donations needs to be authorized through the town manager's office. If you have a program that you're putting on,
No.
It's not a
No,
program.
somebody
This has
stepped
been
up
done.
and said, I want to give you money.
okay, I understand.
We have a
Okay,
donation box there in the museum.
Yeah.
That
I
should
see.
be removed.
okay,
So
okay.
we didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
doing it.
I mean, the concern I would have with that is like, who is managing that donation box?
Well, when I was
Yeah.
chairman, I would clean it out every so often and bring the money to the town treasurer.
Okay, and then it was going in and being managed. Okay,
And
All right.
hopefully
I just wasn't
they'll decide to
aware of
work
how
a
that
line
worked.
Item in the budget and everybody knows it's there.
I mean, the town provided us the box. I mean, they gave us the box.
yeah, no, I'm just,
It's.
it just sets off like, it's like,
No,
okay, I didn't
get where
understand
you're
that.
going
Yeah,
with it
yeah.
Because we had talked about this a little bit before about receiving donations and how to go about doing that. And in
Yeah.
fact, there really wasn't a process in place. This group has been doing this for the last, 3 years? 4 years?
Five,
I think this is the 5th year.
Fifth year.
5th year.
Right.
And it's something that we found a way to accommodate in the past, so we just assume there's some sort of a process in place.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we weren't told.
Yeah,
to stop
in the
doing it.
past, we turned the money over to
Yep,
frankly, I gave it to the person sitting at the desk out there.
Gotcha,
told them what
understood.
for. They then they take it, process it, and Kelly's aware of what we're doing, and she makes sure that we do it.
Got it.
Just for the sake of a little
thank you. I
background on
understand.
it, Art Audley was the irresistible force that made sure that the station became a museum. That was his thing.
Understood.
He was huge in implementing and getting it done and keeping it alive when it really wasn't going anywhere. He passed away from cancer not long after we got the museum up and running. The train table that we built and the train display that's there was built in his honor. I helped build that table, and Bob Curran did the display on top, and it's Art Audley's trains that he donated to the museum. All those photos you see inside the museum of the trains, the last train that was sent down for the passenger service, all those were collected by Art. All of those were produced by Art for the museum. So he's been big, and we have a small little plaque on the train table recognizing him. And since this group has made such an effort to to keep his memory alive and honor him every year with these donations, I think it's only appropriate that we do something a little more than that small plaque. And all I really want to do at this stage was to get it on the table for ideas as to what we could do. I don't really have a specific
Yeah.
plan in mind yet as to what to do with it.
Hearing no objection to the idea of let's bring something forward.
Yeah.
Why don't we just do that? Any objection?
Yeah. So what is the, like, how do you want us to proceed? Are we looking for, here's my thought, right? If there is, a specific proposed idea for the plaque and how much that would cost, right? Is that something that you wanted to bring forward, in a way that then staff could like work that as a process?
I'm not even at that point yet.
Not at that
It's
point
just
yet.
really the idea. It occurred to me as we received notification that this group was once again donating money in his honor, that really all
Yeah.
we've done for art is that little, 4-inch
Yeah.
tall plaque on the
It's-
table. That we should have something a little more substantive describing his importance to the fact that that museum exists. And it could be a plaque, it could be an upgrade to the train table display, it could be a better, a better train display for the museum itself. It could
Right.
take a number of forms.
Yeah.
The easiest one would probably be a plaque.
Yeah, whatever we ultimately try to do, by the way, potentially doable within the budget we already have, not ask the council for more.
Oh,
money.
yeah.
Or do it. So if it's something that that we as a group think is a good idea, and it fits in with the funding we have, we could just do it. I think. So I'm gonna make sure we don't run afoul of any of that, but that's how I think this would.
I would, yeah, I would want to get, I would want either the town manager or Mr. Cochran to weigh in with any sort of addition or plaque or whatever, or anything that's going to be affixed to the building. If there's a table or something inside of it, that anything that belongs to the town, or it's a town asset, it has to be at least approved through the public works director of the town manager's office. So that would be the only thing I would advise you on.
Well, here's what I think. I think this is like a good example of what you brought up earlier, which is how would we modify the plan, right?
Mhm.
And so like, here's an example of something already within an hour of us having that part of the conversation where, in consideration for somebody who had such an impact on the fact that is even a town asset and is what it is, and considering his impact on members here, and we know the impact on the community that asset has, and his family's continuing interest in that and engagement with us. I think like this is obviously a thing that this group is going to want to pursue and is appropriate to the context of that town asset, right? And so if we want to explore this small, right, one-time kind of project, I think the ask from us is to town staff, in recognition of the things I just said, what is a way that we could engage? I think you started to touch on it, which is there has to be some questions asked operationally inside, right, and then about what are the boundaries of what they want modified or will allow us to modify. But I think we owe some answers back, because this is a negotiation, right, between what we want and what staff has capacity to do. So we should also give them some idea the next time we come together on what is the scope of what we'd like to modify. It sounds like we'd like to do some stuff to the table that was already placed in there in his honor, probably, but maybe the size
We have
of
a
what it
plaque
is.
hung on it. We might hang a bigger one.
Yes.
We might hang it somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think this is an easy ask of Public Works. I don't think we're going to find a lot of friction to this. I think, but we should give a little more detail the next time, if you wanted to take that. And then I think we can find a way to accommodate a thing like this in the plan, because it's really low friction.
I don't even seeing this even being part of the plan. I think this could be
Yeah.
as simple as making a request of the town manager, the public works director, saying, hey, we'd like to do this. Send them that letter or the email to get their feedback on it. If there's no objection to it, then the commission can allocate money for it.
Okay. That would be defining our box a little
Yeah.
better.
Well,
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
frankly, I think if we agree, whatever we agree to do, what I'd like to be able to do is turn to you. Say, would you please ask all the appropriate people within the town structure, whether it's Public Works, the town
Rest of the
manager,
chain of command.
or whoever, that you just do it, and then you tell us, yeah, it's done. Here are the questions that came back, do these things.
yes, I will endeavor to do that.
Okay. All right, cool. So we'll continue that conversation for the next time, I guess. That's okay. All right, good. Right now, all I'll ask for here relative to the fire museum, which I'll like to call the town of La Plata Museum. We did the presentation that to the council. The staff report has been submitted, which is all great, and I have a copy of the staff report if anybody would like to see it, but I don't want to bury ourselves in the details of that. I'm just looking for a status of what's next. What do we do next?
Chair, I'm just, let me back up. What bullet point are you on?
I am
Because
on
we were
the
talking about the
Working
fi-
Groups Firehouse Museum.
Okay, I thought we were already, but,
No, we
okay,
didn't do that.
pardon me. Okay, so, all right, thank you. So Mr. Stevens was directed to provide some additional information for council with regard to the firehouse. If I recall correctly, concerning some budgetary issues and management issues. And that is still with him at this time. When he completes the additional information requested by council, it will go back onto a council agenda for their consideration.
Do we have a list of questions that he got?
Well, it's based on the public record, whatever that was stated. I think we have the notes of what those are. I don't have them immediately in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, and those were from the public meeting the same night as you did the presentations, Mr. Gilpin.
Which I'm gonna have to pick up
Yep.
some for an appointment,
Understood.
excuse me.
Thank you. So there weren't any more comments when the staff report was turned in, or were there?
No, I mean, the public record is complete on where we are with it. The next steps are, the council making decisions once it comes back before it.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, any other questions relative to the La Plata Museum? Okay, 1926 tornado marker and observances. Any news? I'll turn to you, Stuart. Anything new there that you'd like to report on
I
today?
haven't moved the ball on that much at all,
Okay.
because we have, I've got a bunch of personal projects in relation to that going on. The book and the
Okay,
movie, we just filmed the movie, last couple weeks ago. I wanted to get those out of the way first. There are certain things that, Mr. Pazilla, who is not present, acquired in the pursuit of those personal projects that he indicated he wanted to turn over to the town, donate to the town or to the museum, for this 1926 remembrance exhibit. And I wanted to get those nailed down before I tried to move forward with it. Don asked me for a while back for an email. He sent me an email requesting what I had in mind about it. I haven't answered that email yet, although I haven't forgotten about it. For
Okay.
working with our events planner or events coordinator to come up with proposed ideas so they could get to work on it. But I wanted to get these other things nailed down first before I started with it. So
all right, so we'll continue that for the next one. Okay, thank you. The reason I asked you to stay, the willing helpers marker. So this is
We won't be able to hear you if you're not on microphone, though.
come on back. We'll make it fast. I know you got to get out of here.
Have-
So the Willing Helpers plaque, for everybody who's not aware, this is a plaque that we procured. When we took it over to them, they said they would hang it on the building, and it hasn't happened. And I've reached out to them, and Mary Beth has reached out to them. That's why I asked you to stay. I want to get this thing squared away. If we need to offer Public Works to go and hang the darn thing, maybe that's what we need to do. Or if we just want to help them personally, we could do that. But I just wanted to get a sense of, have you had any new communications with them?
No, because I knew you were working on that.
Yes.
Now, there is another lady I can contact, a Mary Ball, who I think can get this ball rolling. They've had this plaque for almost a year. They were supposed to hang it and invite us to a ceremony in August. It didn't happen, so I can pursue that again if you'd like me to.
Yeah, or if you want to.
And look, I'd like to offer this too. You know, when we just went through the work plan, or not the work plan, the plaque plan, right? Like that's an example of how we lay out a framework where it is understood how plaques are delivered and installed. So what we need to do is, you know, this is a great example of how we have to change into what we're starting to, how we're going to manage things going forward, because like not having these things understood, I don't know if we already bought this plaque, if
Bought,
no.
it's paid for. We've had it for over a year.
right. And so
They were going to install it themselves.
great example, right?
And oh, by the way, fully coordinated. They came and visited with us. There were multiple
Okay.
meetings where we discussed this plaque. They wanted to do it in conjunction with they
Okay.
had a ceremony.
They
wanted to
approached
do.
But
us for the plaque.
but because we this is why we have to do things better with the way we work with town staff and the way we set up these programs, because it is I know individually, like when you work on stuff like this, it's personally disappointing when you go through the process and I'm sure we've had it for a year. I'll bet it took you a year to get it too, right?
Yeah.
No, that part was quick. Okay. Well, at least that part was quick, but the net effect is we have done nothing yet.
I
Yeah.
am happy to pursue this and to get in touch with town staff and get it installed. If that's the
But
way-
But to be clear.
Yeah, I'm not even.
I don't,
If we had.
I have no idea what this plaque even is.
That's okay.
Yes.
If we had, in this particular case,
Uh-huh.
if we had put in if there was an agreement like the one we just approved or we're going to approve,
Mhm.
we would have had an agreement that they would hang the plaque. We would provide the plaque, they would hang the plaque.
Yeah.
And we'd still be facing the same question. They didn't hang the plaque.
Okay.
So it's not that the process has been broken or not functioning, which is kind of what you implied. It's just they didn't follow through with what they said they were going to do, and we're trying to get it done.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is
I
our-
understand.
This is
Yep.
our fifth plaque. The first one was installed by the town at the museum. We worked with the hospital, the old hospital, for the second one. We had one installed at the original jail, which the county government worked with us with that installation. The town installed the one at the Episcopal Church. So it's not been a problem, I tell.
Yeah, they've all gone up.
And we did not request this plaque. They came to us requesting the plaque. We worked with them. We got them the plaque. They said they'd put it up. They haven't done it.
Gotcha.
I'm happy to move forward with it and see that.
In the other examples, did the folks receiving those plaques, they installed them or did the town install them?
Town installed two, hospital installed theirs with a ceremony that we had. And county government installed the one on the county jail.
And the
Okay.
church one, was
The
that?
church was done by the town.
by the town?
Yeah, the ones that are town assets should be installed by the town.
Well,
Yeah.
they're all town assets, I guess now. I mean, they're,
Well, I
we paid
guess
for them, we
yeah,
bought them, we paid for them.
okay, so the obvious question to me is if we use town money to, and I'm asking the question. Is there an agreement that the plaques that the town purchased them belong to the town?
No, there was never, this is all new to us, No, we decided that we would start this program and it just worked well under the way we'd been handling it. And we just worked with Don Garner or whoever was necessary. And there was, there was never a chain of command, so to
Okay,
speak,
gotcha.
that was so
So we,
rigidly outlined for
So-
us.
okay, so so what it sounds like is that we need to, maybe staff can work on developing a process for special requests that
Well,
would
no, like the
require.
one that we're waiting on now that's down in Culpeper, that's in the
Yeah.
hands of y'all now to
Yeah.
get it
Yeah,
up
no,
and
I don't think
installed.
anybody saw that one coming.
Mr. Dooley, can we just concede that the rest of these plaques that need to be discussed here are probably all in this category where if they're town assets and the town it's appropriate for the town to install them, we'll determine that and then finish those tasks? Okay.
These
Um,
are, these were public
yeah.
buildings. The next part of the program is working into privately owned commercial buildings and homes.
I understand the
These were
difference.
public
Yeah.
Buildings. they were
Okay,
working with,
gotcha.
okay?
And so this one
Just
that's
kinda
been
conclude-
problematic is just it wasn't clear probably
Right.
who was going to do the work. And so it's on us, not on the property owner. I don't think we should be critical of them at all. We don't have a well-defined process for how we do this. There's been changeover in administration and things like
But we
that. So
will
we'll
have-
do that.
I thought
I
they-
think
I
that-
thought they made it clear they were going to do.
Excuse
Yeah,
me,
absolutely.
you've got to pick
Yeah.
up a
Go
9-year-old
ahead.
lady and I
Okay,
got
thanks.
I'm waiting.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
I would proffer this, that anytime that somebody is approaching the commission, wanting the commission to utilize assets or budget for something that they want to do, I think that they need to start with town staff. And there needs to be there should be some sort of a process where staff can evaluate what the request is and have some sort of an application process where it gives us the ability to formally review it, make our recommendations to the commission. Because what's happening in the past, as I've seen, is that we're getting these asks or requests, and their staff apparently wasn't aware of it, or maybe they were, I don't know, but there's several of these, like the Willing Helpers Hall plaque. I have no idea what that was until now. But it
Staff
probably
was
needs to.
aware because
we
they had their pictures taken with the plaques being installed. So I mean, not.
Yeah, I'm just saying, wasn't aware of it, and that's not.
No, you weren't aware of
necessarily
it because you weren't here. at
I
the
weren't-
time.
wasn't
Yeah.
here,
And
but-
that,
Speak
and that,
to you.
but this is why this is important. When we say that's a program, to me, that implies that we have a documented process and
Yes.
that it's known. And if it was a program in that context, it wouldn't matter if we have changeovers in staff.
Correct.
They would know. And
Yeah.
so this is a fundamental issue that we are working on with the town manager and town staff, right? It's professionalizing how we're doing things,
Yeah,
right? Related to this kind of stuff. So like we do not want people to have a bad experience with things, especially things that are meant to be benefits and honorary like this, right? So we have to be better about being disciplined about how we interact and pursue these things. And so the bright line that, for the benefit of everybody here on this commission, I'll say it this way, the bright line that we should all be aware of is if anytime we're talking to somebody and they're talking about delivery of services in some way, whether it's installing a sign, receiving a physical asset in the form of a plaque, anything like that, that is a conversation they should be having with town staff.
So
We should not be handing those things over. We should not be negotiating or meeting with people or talking to them about schedules of when something can be put in. That's the bright line. That means,
I think
Put
we
it in
probably
town
addressed
staff,
that with
yeah.
the discussion we've already had with the
Okay.
plaque program. This just predated that.
yeah. No, I understand.
but just to be clear.
We are in this part where we're in the
Yeah.
cleanup phase. Yeah.
We're transforming into a different process, and that's very good. But just to be clear, that this project or any other project has not been done without the knowledge and input from town staff as represented at the time.
I understand.
So when the Willing Helpers came to us, this was done frankly formally.
Yep.
The town staff was here and they participated, and we put together a plan,
Mhm.
put together a plan that we executed. Now we ran into a snag. Okay. But I just want to be clear that when you talk about we're going to professionalize and do things better and do it right, we did it per the process that was in
Yeah,
place.
no, I
I
agree.
don't want people to think that,
No.
oh,
I-
what were you guys doing? Nothing?
No, I
So-
agree. I agree and understand what
Okay.
you're saying. What I'm saying to you is how we move forward, because
Sure.
the literal implementation of the plans or whatever form they were done at the time, right? And this is not a criticism of anybody here, but what we can see, the output of that plan is current staff doesn't know about the plan. What I'm saying is that we are doing things, and some of the artifacts that we looked at earlier here today are evidence of what we're trying to do. And this is a reason why we're trying to do it, because these plans like this should endure past us being here. If we switch roles or staff changes or moves on, grows into different positions, these projects should endure,
But
right?
the project, that's what I'm trying to say, is the projects were were put in place with the previous version of what the town staff is,
Yeah.
the people are still here. So I don't know what kind of a pass down was done.
Yeah.
Or if one was done.
Yeah.
But all those things should have been briefed.
Well, what all I'm saying is, I guess what I'm trying to do is just draw the line between some of the new things that we're doing here, right?
Uh-huh.
Today, that there was a little bit of discussion around like what the intent of some of those things are, is that we have a better result going forward. That's really all I'm
Yeah,
making.
and a
Yeah.
record that we can refer back
Yeah.
to. What I would propose is that staff can work on developing some guidelines so that if someone wants to approach the commission with wanting to put up another plaque or has an idea for something, that they're referred back to my department to sort of vet out a little bit, and we can provide a summary of what the request is and have some information for the commission so they can have some decision points, and then we can take it back depending on what the commission's outcome is, and then implement whatever's been approved. But I think that would be really helpful for all of us, and that we have the ability to have a record of what's come before the commission, so that it makes your lives, ultimately will make your lives easier, because you're not trying to figure out who's on first, because it'll come back to staff. We're here to make decisions and provide policy direction. Staff will implement that. And I think that's the difference here. And I agree with Councilman Gutberg. It's just not a criticism of the current commission. You're following what prior staff has told you to do, and that's fine. I think there's a better way of doing this, so that we have record of what's going on, and we're using the commission perhaps a bit more efficiently, and we can provide information to you so that you can make informed decisions on what's coming before you.
Okay.
And to that extent, and maybe it needs to be a future agenda item, but we need a similar process for receiving donations for the museums. We have received donations before any of you were on board, on behalf of the train station museum, of items for exhibit in the museum. Some of those items aren't in exhibit at the moment. I don't know how to catalog, categorize. I can tell you they're in the storage bins at the museum, but there should be a process for receiving these things and categorizing these things. It also goes to what our discussion about the 26 tornado remembrance. I know Mr. Pazila has things he wishes to donate, but there needs to be a process to get that to happen.
Okay. Is that something you'll work towards?
Yes, now that I'm aware of it, I will start working on developing something that I think will be helpful. At this point, when the donations and things, I think are, it's just a matter of providing direction from making the town manager aware of it and implementing a policy direction on that.
I think the
For these
donation-
other types of applications, I want to think about how we put together some sort of a application process where somebody could come in and we can evaluate stuff before we bring it to you.
Yeah.
These are non-work plan type of items. These are kind of the one-off sort of things that may happen from time to time.
Well, it'll tie into one of the work plan things, because I suspect that we will soon be bringing something forward to talk about how can we fundraise to try to offset some of the costs for the town museum too. So that'll probably become a reasonably good size effort, because I believe that with some work, we could probably offset almost all the costs of this with some effort, and which would be a great thing. Get it, because I love using other people's money to get things done instead of just our own. So any opportunity to do that, and I want to be prepared to do that in a method that works for everybody. So, but you may want to think about that one sooner than later. Okay. All right. Looking at the list of agenda items here and the working group reports, I think we've covered them all. I already talked about Small Business Saturday and what we're doing, and I think we've covered everything here. Is there anything I've missed, folks?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Is there any other business that we need to bring up before the group? Okay, so now for matters of information, town council report?
I'll just note, I think probably all of you received the email for a training session in January. So that's part of a sort of a larger plan related to all of the commissions and boards, including the council, for training. And really this is part of, what we're talking about, in general today. So it'll be a first iteration. It's probably going to evolve into a yearly thing. And it will also be available to, as new members come on, to commissions and boards, they will go through this as well. And it's, I think it's going to cover a few things, right? Like reiterating and helping people understand the scope, right? Like if for a particular board or commission, what the what in code is based on what we're doing. I think we all come with assumptions, of myself included, of what we're going to do on a council, a board, or commission, and then we have to navigate, and this happens to everybody. This is universal. It's not La Plata, and it's everyone. Then you have to, kind of figure out how to navigate through the processes as they're set up, and they've been established for a long time. And I think, it's easy to assume, everybody kind of just automatically knows what it is, and that's not the case. And so we're going to do some deliberate things to help with that. And I think that will help contextualize the way staff reports and what the intent of staff reports are, and how we interact with each other, and help better define how we're what is expected of us, and what we should appropriately expect of each other, right? Whether we're town staff or members of the commission, and what commissions should expect of the council and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that. This first iteration, I'm sure it will evolve as we go. And I think it'll be beneficial to all of us.
Questions?
I believe so.
It was 1 hour.
Yeah.
Question on that about, we have had in the past, and I don't know where they stand now, but we've had work groups and people that have assisted the commission informally in the past. Would it be appropriate for them to attend as well?
So that's a great question. So one of the things I was doing just recently was I wanted to look at our rules of procedure, and found that we don't have a clear, for this commission, we don't have a clear set of rules of procedure. And in typically what you would find in a rules of procedure is the way you interact, it would reference the code that is essentially your group's scope, the things that you're tasked with and expected. It would also talk about the appropriate way to establish working groups and subcommittees, and we don't have that. And so, like, a problem that I have, or a challenge I have with the agenda we have today with all these work groups, is how are those work groups defined? What is the scope of those work groups? We don't have that, right? And so we all come with our assumptions of what that means, right? And I think we can acknowledge that we all know that there's some tension with how those volunteer groups and volunteer efforts are used for the different things that are done around the museums, right? Mm-hmm. And so we all know that, and we know that's an issue we have to work through. There's been some emails over the summer I've shared with Mr. Gilpin and also with Mr. Dooley on ideas for how we navigate the volunteer component of what has traditionally been done, and how we square that with the code of what this commission is actually charged with doing, and the reality of how much engagement there is with and interest there is, what it is significant. I acknowledge that, and it's something we should be proud of. The amount of people that want to be involved with the town assets that have been donated with us in the form of the things that are inside of our museum. It's not just buildings, and the people who are assets to all of this, the people that stand and tell the stories, and whether it is their firsthand knowledge, or because I've been in here and heard folks tell stories of, like, why the old firehouse used to be green, right? I love that story with the leftover paint from the water towers, right? Like that's stuff that that's what makes all of this connection real, and it has an impact on us. And so, we do have to figure out how we as a commission interact with that part of the energy in our community, so that we can not have people feel like they're not participating. But we also have to, you know, work with the reality of where we are, which is this commission was formed for a specific reason and it has specific things, and we are not free to change that scope on our own, right? And so, and there are ways that you know, volunteerism works. When you look into it, you could even look at something as simple as you know, groups that do cleanup days around town, right? That's another that's a real tangible example of volunteerism that happens. They don't manage that inside their committee. They're not having reports from those groups. They're not. They can deal with that outside of the public meeting box, right? And we're relatively constrained in here. There's pretty significant rules on public meetings, how public meetings are conducted, and all of that volunteer groups shouldn't be constrained by having to come in and sit here on a video being posted on the internet and recorded in minutes and all of that stuff when they are talking about how they are supporting an event like Small Business Saturday and the things that are going on with the museum. You should be free to interact with each other as volunteers and what you're doing, but in a way that's appropriate to how the town has to manage that asset. And so this is the part nobody likes to talk about, but it's real, that there are insurance concerns, right? And so if people are on ladders stringing lights and somebody falls and there's no formal agreement, like the council and the town manager is on the hook for managing our exposure to risk, right? And so it's not fun, it's not sexy, and nobody likes to hear, well, now you know, but we have to really consider those things. The antique firehouse, right? Or the historic firehouse. There's an antique fire truck inside. The town doesn't own that.
That's right.
What happens if that building burns down? Do the taxpayers of La Plata have to buy somebody a new antique fire truck, right? Like that's a conversation that's been had in the background, and because those things haven't been you know, addressed fully, like we have to do that. That is our responsibility. It's it is the responsibility of the town manager to appropriately manage those things. And so when staff comes in and says, you know, Mr. Joey's tenses up and says, this group's doing that. And it's it's because of that, right? He is not trying to impede the goodness of what those groups are doing. He's managing a set of risks that have been put on his boss, the town manager from the council, whose literal job it is to, you know, prepare and be responsible with our assets and not put us at risk for things that if we planned correctly, we wouldn't have a problem, right? And so that's a really long way of saying we will figure it out, right? We're gonna figure it out next week, no, but we are moving towards that. And I hope that, you know, I know that folks there are some that are frustrated with the process of doing this, but I've learned over the past 6 months, you know, nothing goes as fast as you want. I came in with a belly full of fire wanting to change a few things, and no one of us gets to change anything. We all have to do it as a group, and frankly, it works out better that way. There's a lot of individuals I wouldn't want to be the sole decider on things, so it's better that we do it, you know, as a group. So it's
So do we invite the work group participants to the training session, or?
Well, you know, that's an excellent question that I think we will work out, and it's a question that, you know, we can engage with Mr. Julian a little bit, but I think you know, it's not something we're going to solve today. Yeah, it's not something we're going to solve today, but it is out
So
there.
that we can consider it, because I know that some of the people that are involved in helping at the museum are also physically in contact with the assets of the museum to operate the trains and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And if all this has to be laid out somehow, then it might benefit them to be in the training sessions, just so they understand why things are going to be done.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Okay.
Any other one?
No, that's all I have. I'm sorry.
Okay. Moving on then, staff report.
I have nothing further to add for the meeting today.
All right. Any other items before we take a motion to do something? Good for a motion.
I motion we adjourn.
Any second?
Second,
All in favor?
second and third.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good discussion today. This gives me time to get over to, if you, Paul, if you're interested, I'm meeting